Welcome to the Mailvalet training videos. This video covers the topic of building automatic routing rules for emails, which will move them to the folders of your choice as they are received by Mailvalet. These rules can be built in three ways: manually, a single rule at a time; automatically, as you move emails from the inbox to a folder one time; and semi-automatically, as you move emails to a destination folder one time, where each new generated rule pops up and you have the opportunity to customize the rule while you are moving the emails. We will first demonstrate how to manually create the rules and explain how all the rules work, whether they're created manually or automatically. Then we'll demonstrate automatic and semi-automatic creation of rules while moving emails to new folders. To create a rule, we will first tap on the Setup button at the top of the main window and then select Update Email Auto Routing Rules, as you see here. That will bring up a rule selection and update pop-up where we can specify the account in which the rule will go, and then if there are existing rules in that account, once you click on the account, they would show up in the section at the bottom for changing or deleting an existing rule. Also, when we want to add a new rule, the middle section is for adding a new rule. In this example, I selected the Comcast account, and then I'm going to give the new rule that we want to create a name. I'll just call it Rule 1, and I'll tap on Add Rule. That will bring up a new pop-up which has all of the details of the rule that we are about to create. First, let's look at the different parts of the rule as you see in the rule information pop-up that we're looking at now. The rule name that we just assigned when we tap the Add button shows up here, Rule 1, and the account to which it applies shows up also in that first section. Rules are created for a specific account. One rule does not apply across multiple accounts, just one account only in which you create it. The second section, the rule type and selection data for incoming emails section, is where you enter data that will be used to match the rule against incoming email to see whether that rule's action should be applied to a particular email. Mailvalet allows you to match on a number of different components in the email, including the sender email address, all are part of it, the sender domain name, all are part of it, the sender contact name from your iPad contacts if the person that you're trying to match on is one of your contacts in your iPad, all are part of it, the email subject, all are part, the CC email address, all are part, the CC contact name, if that is a contact in your iPad, all are part, and then if there are attachments, an attachment file name, all are part, or a file extension. If we scroll down a bit, the next part of the rule, labeled Destination Folder and Priority, allows you to specify the action that the rule will take. Once the matching has taken place using the data we just talked about, now we'll apply the action of the rule against the email. And there are different options for that. If you set the switch labeled Delete Rule Matches, No Destination Folder, that means that the rule, as it comes in, the rule does match against the email, but you're not sending it to a destination folder. You're simply going to delete it, so it will not be saved in Mailvalet. Essentially, you're just deleting the rule as you're deleting the email as you read it in. The second option, to send rule matches to the trash folder, is just a quick way of selecting the standard default trash folder as the destination for an email that matches this rule. And then the third option is to send rule matching emails that match this rule to a specific designated folder, and that could be either trash or any other folder. Note that the default folders are listed, but also other folders that we have created are listed as well. For example, test folder is a folder that we manually created earlier in the demos, so that we can route any folder that you create within an account. You can also create a rule that will send emails to that folder if those emails match the information you enter in the matching section above. Also part of the destination action is a priority. You could have the option of selecting a priority for an email that matches this rule as either being high, medium, low, or none. Finally, the apply update section is simply contains the buttons that are used to either cancel out when you want to just forget about this rule, or to tap update if you want to permanently add the rule to the account. You can, of course, go back later and make changes to rules, or delete rules, or add new rules at a later time. Okay, let's scroll back up to the top of the rule, and we will begin to discuss entering the specific matching information. And we'll pick a particular type because once we discuss how to enter the matching information, that same method is used for all of the other components of the email. So now we'll proceed with creating a rule that matches on the sender email address. The rule matching data can either be entered as an exact literal string, or you can use either one or two wildcard characters, as we will illustrate in a moment. The wildcard character is the asterisk. So I'll create a rule that matches on the sender email address. I'll start out by entering an exact address. So we'll pick my address at mailserver.com. This is a literal string without using any wildcard characters, and it means that when an email comes into this account, if the sender address has this exact email address, the rule will match against the email, and the action specified by the rule will be taken on that email. It may be, however, that this is a little bit too specific, and we may want to make the rule a little bit more general than that. So as an example, we can come back, and I would like to, let's do that again, come back, and instead of saying my address at mailserver.com, we'll replace the my with an asterisk. And that means that for all the incoming emails, if the sender address begins with basically anything but ends with address at mailserver.com, then this rule will match on that email and its action will be taken. Another way that we might want to specify it, let's put the my back. And let's say that we want to put an asterisk at the end. In this case, the rule would match against sender addresses that begin with my address at mailserver. And could end with basically anything, .net, .org, whatever needs to be there. So that again is another way to make it a little bit more general. Still, another thing that we could do, I could just go back all the way here. I'll put an asterisk after address. I'll come back and replace the my with another asterisk. And this is an example of using up to two wildcard characters, one at the beginning, the other at the end of the string. And in this case, the rule will match against emails with a sender address that begins with basically anything, contains address anywhere in as a part of the full email address, and ends with basically anything. In that case, this rule would match against such an email, and its action would be taken on that email. For purposes of this example, though, I'm going to change this back to my address at mailserver.com. Once we have the principles for entering either literal strings or using wildcard characters, as you see here, those same principles will apply to the sender domain name, the sender contact name, being meaning that if you have a contact in your iPad that will associate a contact's name with their email address, you can do matching on that contact's name using this field. You can also use the same kind of matching for email subject, for the CC address, for the CC contact name if that contact is in your iPad contacts, and also all are part of the attachment file name using wildcard characters or the full name, or an attachment file extension. Let me also mention in passing, talking about the sender domain name, we may want to focus on just the domain rather than a specific address. We might want to say that we want to have this rule match on any emails that come in with a sender with any sender from a particular domain. So we could just say mailserver.com, for example. And that, in that case, it would match against any incoming email from my address at mailserver.com, John's address at mailserver.com, and so forth. In addition to that, you can also use the wildcard characters here. We could replace the .com with a asterisk, and then it would be any address coming from mailserver.com, .net, .org, or whatever. So you can make it more and more general using the same matching principles that we talked about for the email address apply here for the domain name itself. I should emphasize again that either all or part of any of these components, the address, the domain name, and so forth, can be entered, and any of the fields that you enter here can also use one or two wildcard characters, whether it's the email address, domain name, contact name, email subject, email CC address, attachment file name, or attachment file extension. For purposes of our demo, though, let's go back and change to using the sender email address, and we'll use my address at mailserver.com. And then we'll scroll this down and we can look at the next section, which is the destination folder and priority section. Everything in this section comprises the action that will be taken on an email when that email does match against the rule. So to complete our example, we will select an action of sending the rule matches to a designated folder, and we will specify the one below. So notice that the switch is already set for this action. We'll now scroll down until we get to test folder, which is the folder that we had entered in an earlier demonstration. Tap that to select it. And now I'm going to also choose a high message priority for messages that bind against this rule. We're all finished with that now, so now I'll tap on Update to permanently add the rule to the Comcast account. That closes the rule details pop-up, so let's go back now and tap on Setup. Tap on Auto Routing Rules again, as you see here. Select our Comcast account, and notice that the rule that we were just working on is now added, and it shows up under Change or Delete Rule, so that we can apply changes if we wish at any time, or we can delete the rule at any time as needed. So I'll tap on this to select it, and tap on Change, and you can see that we come back up with everything that we had entered before is now permanently a part of the Comcast account as one of the rules that we applied against incoming emails. So I'm going to tap now to close this. There is one other thing I would like to mention having to do with displaying rule summaries. Let's tap again on Setup, tap again on Update Email Auto Routing Rules, select Comcast, select our rule, and now suppose that we have many rules in here. Each of the names of the rules will then appear in this section, and this is a scroll list which can contain any number of rules. It would be nice to be able to look at a summary of what that rule does, what its matching data is, and what actions are taken without having to go back and forth between here and the rule details. And we can do that by first tapping on a rule to select it and then swiping to the right. In that case, as you see here, the rule comes up and gives the rule name, the rule type being select by sender email address, giving the actual address, my address at mailserver.com, giving the rule action send to designated folder, and the folder was test folder that we selected, and the rule priority that we selected was high. So it's just a quick pop-up summary of that rule. We can tap close now. And then, so you can see that very quickly we could tap any one of the rules, swipe to the right, and get a quick summary of that rule. So we will close this pop-up, and that will conclude the first part of the training video on creating email routing rules manually. There is a second part to this demo that will deal with creating email rules either automatically or semi-automatically as you're moving emails from one folder to another.